everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well, feeling well out there. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. This is a past life reading. And learning about your past lives helps you grow spiritually within. So what is your past life like, and what is your past life lesson? This is a pick-a-pile for the collective. We're doing gnomes, so just try to channel whatever you can in whatever way. Some people like to pause it and stare at it for a while, or some people pick really fast, whatever works for you. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. It's your way. Literally your way or the highway. So, channel in to your past life self. This is your energy. So, watch what pulls to your heart. We're going to call this the Red Hat Gnome with the Life Preserver. Life Raft. Super cute little guy. Damn, our TV is loud. This is the weekly test me, it sounds like. Alright, pile number 2 is the Green Hat Gnome with the lantern. Also super cute. My poor dog's probably going crazy. She hates that meh noise from the news. Pile number 3 is the orange hat with the surfboard. Super cute little guy. I'll hold them up one more time each for you. Pile 1, red hat with the life raft. Not vest, I almost said vest. Pile number 2 is the green hat gnome with the lantern. And pile number 3 is the orange hat with the surfboard and the super cute little belly. Alright, I hope you picked your pile, and we'll get right into pile number 1. Hi pile 1, how's it going? We're going to do some live pulls for you. Everything else is preset. I normally don't preset my past life readings, but I'm doing a pick pile this time, so let's get some details about your life down on the table. 6 from each deck. Moving stuff around. Two more. Okay. Get 6 from this one, and we'll get right into your reading. I just like to do something live for you. That's not the right deck. It's a twin flame deck. Alright, I guess we'll do 7 from this deck. Alright, this gives me the most detail about your life, so let me spread these out. That goes along with one of the cards I just live pulled for you, makes sense? Okay, so you definitely were a shaman. Native American can come out for a shaman for me, but you got medicine man or woman, so you might have been an actual Native American. I'm not getting ancient, so I feel like you are a Native American in this life. You also have knighthood. Obviously Native Americans didn't have knights, but they had warriors, and I feel like you were definitely a native warrior. You were good at war and battle. Transportation, you traveled a lot, especially for war. You don't have to be an actual Native American, I guess. You could have just been a nomad like they were. There was different kinds of Native Americans who lived in longhouses and were in one place for a while, and then there was Native Americans who lived in teepees and they followed the food. I feel like, well, I'm getting both vibes. So maybe you were Native American, but you were definitely the kind of Native Americans that lived in teepees and you moved. To me, this is just saying nomad. Fought a lot of wars for territory and you moved around a lot. Well-traveled. You were a spiritual shaman. You had gifts. Wisdom, otherworldly wisdom. Could have known about past lives or were connecting to spirit in some sense. We're talking to the angels. You would definitely help people in death as well. You did have a lot of phobias and you were in a male-female marriage, which is important to this life. Let's get some more. What did you do in your life? We have writing. Ooh, yeah. Okay. We have writing and author. I do feel like they did write on skins of animals. They had scrolls and stuff for their people. Most of their stories were passed by talking, especially the Native Americans around here. But there were Native Americans eventually who did make scrolls, and it's not for recording their history, but like because you were a shaman, I feel like you made like medical books to help other people in your tribe learn. And this is something, like I'm seeing a vision of something that's passed, like between tribes. Like your tribe would write what you know about medicine and then they would pass it to another tribe. It's like the early works of medical books or somebody being a medical professor. I don't feel like you were writing like your people's lineage. I just feel like you were an educator in the medical field. You were an oracle here. You trusted spirit. You talked to spirits. Very connected. Yeah, you were a medium. You had many options as far as work. You could, because you were good at war, you could have been a warrior if you wanted to. And I feel like you were... I heard Englishmen, so this is probably the time of Native Americans when the settlers came in and they were fighting with the settlers. And this is also the time when Native Americans started recording, mostly about after the poisoned blankets and they learned that the white man was poisoning them. They started recording and paying attention. So I do feel like this is the kind of right area for you. You were starting to record what they were doing to your people. There was a lot of death and turmoil in your time, and so you fought with English settlers. You also fought with other tribes who were coming into your territory. I don't feel like that was much of your life. I feel like that was early life coming into like, you're definitely a male in this life. And you can be a female now. I have seen lives where I'm both. Energy is fluid. Once you go back up and come back down, you could be a complete different gender. But I do feel like when you were young, like probably from like 13 to like 19, you were a warrior. And then your views started to change as you became more spiritual. You could even have been helping the settlers as well because you had counseling. I do feel like you were a bridge. Almost like Pocahontas was, she befriended, the story of Pocahontas was she befriended John Smith and became cool with the settlers and taught them how to grow things and kind of was like a mediator between two worlds. I do see that for you. Also, not just with the settlers, but with other tribes and ending the wars. Realizing that your people were getting attacked and being killed by the new founding people, and it wasn't time to be fighting each other. It was time to come into one against their common enemy. So you were more so bringing other tribes together. Let's see, we have spiritually gifted unicorn. Yeah, you were definitely a medium. You definitely had spiritual gifts, especially with healing and medicine. You were a warrior. You were very concerned about the future of your people. You saw massive deaths. I'm seeing a lot of illness. As a healer, you would be called to help anyone who felt ill. battle wounds. You were just very concerned about the future of your people, and rightly so. Look what happened. I think you were a little bit of a prophet of your time and had foresight that these new English settlers and this new world was literally the destruction of your people and your way of life. And maybe I heard Trail of Tears, so I do feel like this is way before that happened. I do feel like you had visions of that. You knew 100% in your heart that these people were going to wipe out your clan, wipe out your tribe, and not just yours, but everyone else's. So you were trying to band natives together to give a fighting chance here. You were a survivor. I feel like you got sick yourself and survived it because you had a great purpose. It wasn't your time yet. I do feel like most of your village or tribe was killed, including your family. So this is talking about war and illness. I feel like you lost most to illness and most of the males to war. Money was trade or coins in your life. I don't feel like you had literal coins. I feel like you traded. There was no actual like paper money, which makes sense for Native Americans. You know, they would trade skins for other things. You would trade with the settlers. But this is also how your people got sick, by giving the people giving you blankets. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that specifically happened, but I do feel like you got sick from outsiders giving you things. You lost a child. I don't feel like you lost a child in pregnancy. I feel like you lost a child, I heard mid-20s. You were in your mid-20s and you became a parent. I feel like your child was between 5 and 8. So you lost them to an illness. Sad. You were a cult member for the good, which is just saying you were a shaman and you followed your people's beliefs, which the settlers thought of Native Americans kind of like a cult, like they had weird ways of doing things, but you weren't weird. You were set in your own beliefs. You were a Native American. You had piercing eyes. I heard blue eyes, which is very uncommon for a Native American. Most of them had dark hair, dark eyes, so you were born unique. It's like people, I feel like your name had something to do with your eyes, like the eyes being a gateway to God because they were very blue. And actually, blue eyes are a birth defect. So they kind of accidentally snuck their way into society, and now there's lots of blue eyes. But when they first started popping up, it was a defect. It wasn't like nobody was supposed to have blue eyes. It just kind of evolved. So I feel like you were one of the very first people in your culture to have blue eyes, which is pretty cool. You were shorter than most. You were short and stocky. You weren't a tall guy, which again is uncommon for Native Americans. The normal image is you have this tall and skinny, but that's not necessarily true. There are still shorter Native Americans. You had fear of change. You were scared to settle in like the settlers. You were scared of letting them come in on your land because, you know, sharing their land, you just didn't feel good about it. You didn't feel good about the change as in new people coming. You didn't want it to happen. You were desperately trying to stop it. You feared the white man, and again, rightly so. Look what happened. You traveled very far to have a life with your spouse. You left everything behind, and it was hard, but you succeeded. Oh, wow. Maybe you were like Pocahontas, because I do feel like you left. It could even be going from northern coast to southern coast, but I do feel like after you lost most of your tribe, you fell for somebody not like you. It could be an English settler, and it also had the French creeping in. So I just feel like you fell in love with someone from England, or you fell in love with someone from France. I do feel like you went across the water, almost for real, like Pocahontas. The male version of Pocahontas. You set an example in society. People changed their actions based upon the example you set. You created change in your life in a big way. Oh my God, this is really sounding like Pocahontas. If you know the real story, like she went across, she was the first a native princess who was introduced to the English queen, and they thought of them as savages, and really it changed their way of thinking because Pocahontas wasn't a savage, and I feel like you did the same. But instead of like being royalty, you came and you showed people your medicine. You took your shamanism to a different country, and you were healing people holistically. And instead of looking at your people as weird, doing weird things, they really saw your brilliance and your genius, and were very impressed with how you treated people. So you changed not only the medical field and how people were practicing, you brought that native influence to Europe, but you also changed the fact that they thought that natives were stupid, that they didn't have any intelligence, and that you obviously were very intelligent. People came to you for protection for hire. Ooh. I feel like you also taught them your fighting skills. I'm being pulled specifically to Mohawk, so this could have been your tribe. They were fierce warriors, and they had their own way of doing things. They scalped people. They were very sneaky, hard to spot. I feel like you taught that to soldiers. People were scared of you. You were able to, you would have made a very good spy. You were able to get in and out. You had a lot of war experience, a lot of battle experience. So maybe you made your money not just as a shaman, but as protecting people who were different. You stuck up, think about it. You lost a child. You lost your first spouse, you lost your parents, your cousins, your family members, pretty much your whole tribe was wiped out by war and famine. So anybody who came to the country like you did and weren't being treated fairly, you would help them. You adamantly were trying to preserve life, both as a doctor and as a protector. You lived in a structure, home, or castle. So when you left your native land, you did move into a very nice house. I'm seeing bricks. It could even have been a castle. Let's get some astrology here. Second house, owning. You got a second chance. You didn't die with your people. You left your home. You started a whole new life. You truly were a nomad. Around the northern area, where I live in upstate New York, all the way down into Pennsylvania, you were moving constantly with your tribe. When you left us, United States, and went to Europe, this is when you started sticking in one spot. You had one house. You might have moved a couple times depending on where you lived and worked. But you had a second chance. You changed your life. You were no longer living like a Native American. You became an Englishman. You know what I mean? So you went from one very different life to another very different life. Mars, force, you were very strong. You were a force to be reckoned with. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You were a badass mother F. Nobody wanted to fight you. You were good in a fight. You were good at killing people and protecting people. Aries, I am, god of war. You were made for war. I don't feel like you were dark and ugly. I feel like killing was something that you did not enjoy. Almost grew tired of it and heavy in the soul, but you wouldn't back down. I feel like you got a lot of adversity when you came to England. People would walk around and be like, savage. You know what I mean? You were very angry. You were treated very wrong. There's a lot of racism, not only for you, but other people that came to Europe, like Mexicans, other natives like you, Chinamen. People were not treated well in England. England is one of the worst histories for treating people unfairly, and you fought. You fought for people to change. You had a heart for war. You were very smart and savvy with battle planning, getting in and getting out. Like I said, you would make a great spy. You would also make a great general. Moon, soul. You were very connected to soul and earth, much like Native Americans. You believed that people came back as animals, so you paid attention. If you were out in battle and you saw a bird chirping around, you would consider that your ancestors warning you. You are also affected by the moon. You were lunar power based. let's talk about your personality here. You were a lone wolf after you lost your family, even though you fell in love again and had a life. I do feel like you were very protective because you already lost one family and everybody you loved. So you were extremely fiercely protective about the people that you befriended and your new family. But you were also a lone wolf. You were in a completely different world. Again, referencing Native American with the wolf to me. You were very friendly. Even though you were like out here kicking ass, you had a good nature, a sweet nature. Like you were out here helping people and curing people, and you had a great laugh, a good personality. If people bothered to notice it and could look past their racism for savages, you know what I mean? You were a good friend to have. Again, referencing fiercely protective. You were a good protector, whether it was for hire or for people who you loved. You didn't let anybody hurt your people. You're very sexual based, but you're also very fearful with that worry war at the same time. Very fertile you were as well. You were scared. You're very scared to change. You were scared to come to a new world. And you were scared that, I feel like you always had a sense that someone was going to kill you because of who you were. Black egg. You did feel cursed. You did feel like you were... Bottom line, you faced a lot of pain and turmoil and carried a lot. You watched your whole civilization get wiped out pretty much. And whatever is left, you got scattered. You had a lot of pain. You lost a child. Like, you just felt like life was out to get you sometimes. But you also, this is referencing, you also recognized you had to fight in a dark, like you believed you lived in a dark time and all this light. Like you were a light, but you had to be dark because you were fighting the dark ages, pretty much. Mystic Star. Oh my God. Harmony in the home and great friendships. Yeah. You were a great lover, both physically, mentally, emotionally. Just a great person to be with, a great companion. You had very harmonious friendships as well. But Mystic Star to me is like, basically you are a powerhouse. You had gifts. Philosopher's Stone, exactly. You were about education and teaching. You liked to collect knowledge. You were very smart. Abracadabra with wings. You could manifest the shit out of anything. You were very powerful, very spiritual, which I feel like has a lot to do with your people and how you were raised. We have apples. The taste, one must swallow it whole, and beneath the set, Satan flame hides drowning waters. This is how you felt about the Englishman. You did never, apart from the one you married and, even their parents, you didn't trust. You sensed that they were poisoning you. I feel like you figured out that they were making your people sick. Like, this is the poison apple to me. You just felt like the English people were bad, like influenced, raised in evil. Even when you came to Europe, you just saw... Like, think about it. Somebody who's raised in a community where women are appreciated, where everybody has a system and works together, to a world where women had no rights and were mistreated horribly, and people were very racist. So you were somebody like who came up with women in leadership roles, so you would respect your wife's decisions, respect their opinions, and other females around you, which would be very odd to everybody else. You just felt like the world was evil and had a nasty influence, and you were desperately trying to wash that evil away as much as you could with the people around you. The veil, you were protected by a lot of spirits. It's like also you could walk between worlds. You could have communicated with deceased spirits as well. You got into a lot of trouble. You found trouble. But I don't feel like you were setting out to hurt. You had to cause trouble to make change, if that makes sense. Bam. Invoke thy power and fear not the hidden. What lurks is coming with undenying change. You saw what was going to happen to your people. You were precognitive. You tried to warn your people and they didn't listen. You had visions of bad stuff before it happened. Remember, love is the key. No matter all this shit that happened to you, you always respected people upfront and honest, and if they disrespected you, if they were out to hurt you, that was a different story, but you gave people a chance. Love was very important. Trust what you need is there. You were very spiritual. You 100% believe that spirit and all the spirits of your people were with you and would keep you safe. Shine love on fear. Because you were so fearful, you also didn't want to become racist like the people around you, so you worked very hard not to let the darkness and your pain taint your heart. Make a mission statement for your soul. You had a mission, and coming to a new world was very scary and very hard, but you were determined that to stop the killing of your people back in America and try to influence how people thought about Native Americans, and also help the people around you. Like, I heard, do not tread on me. Like, you didn't allow people to get walked on. Everybody's soul was important to you. Everybody had a voice and a purpose and was to be respected and valued, and life was to be respected. You didn't just take a life just to take a life. If they were trying to kill you and you had to kill them, to you that was a spiritual, okay. But you only killed when you had to. Native Americans valued life. Even when they killed animals, they used every part of the animal. Like, everything was valued and appreciated. You are living poetry. You lived a different way to everyone around you. Even in your own tribe, before everything went down, people looked at you. They knew you were special, but you were also very different. You scared a lot of people. You were very intimidating. The spark of hustle. You moved fast. You wanted to make money, make trade, make your life good. You hustled. You got the job done. You, the muse. You inspired change, and especially how people view Native Americans. Definitely working with racism. Yeah, a lot of movement in your life. You moved around. This is also talking about movement of, like, early activists making change. You were stuck to your own, though. Like, although you were a good friend and you loved a lot, you kept your circle fairly small, and you kept your family away. You never really trusted the white man. Not that you were a racist, but you had good reason. Your whole village was wiped out. Most of the natives around you were wiped out, but you were very strong. Again, you weren't going to allow things that happened into your life to harden your heart. You were like your first spouse and your son and your family. You wanted to make them proud by doing something with your time on earth. Magic prayer. Yeah, you could connect. You were manifested. Somebody who meditated. Magical map shifter. You made change. You manifested change into your life. Protecting treasure. You could have even protected royalty. You protected people. Good protector. Spark. You were the spark that made change, especially about medical healing. Sacred pool. Yeah, you could connect to spirit. Your world was almost like, or your knowledge was like otherworldly. You were ahead of your time. Long before most people could understand what the heck you were talking about. You're kind of like a little bit like Nostradamus and predictions and understanding things. Even Picasso. You made life poetry. Like, maybe you wrote your story. Maybe you made a book later when you got to England, because it did say writing and author. So maybe you did tell your story and change, made a name for yourself to make your people proud. So overall, you were a warrior, badass, super strong pal number 1. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you next time. Bye. I'm pal 2. You picked the green hat with the lantern. Super cute little guy. All right. Put this backwards. Sorry. All right. I'm going to do something live for you, because I like to do at least one thing live. Give me each a quick shuffle. It's really hard to shuffle these index cards. These are all details that will help me figure out what you did, what you were like, what your life was like. I'm going to draw 6 from each deck, and we'll get right into your reading. Okay. Oh, I'll take it. And one stuck to it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And 6 from this deck. Oh, okay. They're telling me to take it back. It doesn't make sense anyway. Why do they keep shooting them out if they're not supposed to be down there? I think they're landing on the wrong side because there's stuff written on both sides. Like, nope, I meant it to go the other way because it came back out on the other side. One more. Alright, I'll do 2 more. Okay, let's see what you did or where you were from. This tells me the most about your life. Ooh, hello. Okay, so I have Asian influence. I don't feel like you lived in Asia. I just feel like this is about beliefs. Your parents could have migrated from Asia. But we have galactic, so you're a starseed. You are still a starseed. If you're a starseed once in your life, one of your lives, you're a starseed in them all. So we have spirituality and religion, high priest or priestess, and vows. So you could have taken some spiritual vows here. You could have been a practicing witch, healer, shaman, nun, priest. Very spiritual here. A lot of wars and battles, which freaks me out for what popped up on its own. Look at this picture. You lived during the Civil War. I mean, it's crazy. I do reference, I really do feel like you were in the United States, but maybe you had Asian parents. Or, again, it could just be influence in your beliefs. You're very close to your father, but you lost your father very young. Traveled on a ship. Okay. Maybe you were born in Asia and you came to America as a small boy, but I do feel like you lost your father on your journey home to illness, if that makes sense. See what you did in your life. We have leadership. So I do feel like you were like a captain, general in the Civil War. Light and love, you were a light worker. I'm getting some doctor vibes here. Maybe you were like a head doctor or a head field surgeon. You did have a career change after the war. Oracle cards here, you were early tarot fortune teller. You were very family-oriented. You loved your family very much, and you fought in the Civil War. You stepped up to fight even though you didn't believe in fighting to protect your family, and you figured that was the right thing to do, even though it went against your spiritual beliefs. Let's talk about your life a little bit. You were a workaholic. You worked long hours. You had siblings. Medical doctor or nurse. So I do feel like you were like a surgeon. But you also fought. It's not like World War II were like, you know, everybody had to fight, but you were also the person that patched people up, if that makes sense. You were a little bit self-absorbed for some parts of your life. You went through like a narcissistic phase, which is okay. But I feel like once you became more spiritual, you weren't not self-absorbed. I feel like that was a lesson you had to learn in your life. You were widowed in the war. So you could even be a female here, because females did fight in the Civil War. They had to. They were fighting right out back behind their houses. But I do kind of feel like you were female because you were more medical based. You lived during the Civil War. You chose love over money and success, and ended up more successful and rich than you ever could imagine. So you definitely loved the person that you married, and I heard north. So you were from the north. You grew up very poor. I do feel like you were a farmer. You married someone from the south after the war, which would have been a serious diss to your side, because you fought with them, but you love them. And I feel like a lot of people didn't wish you well, and when you left, and was like, don't ever come home. So you kind of were scared and felt like you were going to be a failure and have a bad life because you were betraying your people. But no, you had a fantastic life. You moved down south into a plantation home with a great life. You have, poor upbringing. You were very poor. You were very trusting, almost too trusting of people. Maybe the one that you lost, because I am getting like your first, because you were widowed, you married someone your family wanted you to marry, not for love. So when you married someone you wanted, again, it was because your choice and the person you loved. You connected to spirit. Oh yeah, you did, because you were a fortune teller. You had very strong morals and good character. You're very outgoing, and you had children. So that narcissistic side didn't stick around for long. Let's talk about your personality. Cosmic Snake, you had that strong third eye of really recognizing when people were for good and when they were bad, but you also had a very big purpose. I do feel like you moved rather quickly, almost impulsive here, and with Cheetah you move fast. Okay, they're changing it. You move fast, but you did it in a graceful way. Like, if you fell in love, you fell in love hard, but you did things correctly. You made career moves in a very graceful way. You treated people in a very, like, I just feel like you were on the go. You were somebody like, I can't talk now, I got things to do, but you were also very elegant. Like, maybe you had a specific walk or gait. Spider and frog. I feel like you were a looker, like people got caught up in you, fancied you, which caused a little bit of trouble for you in your life. Frog to me is somebody who is able to adapt. You could literally go anywhere and survive. With the spider as well, you were good at putting things back together. Very good at seeing the bigger picture in it all. Wishes come true. You're a manifester. You could have helped other people with your fortune. I feel like you did make potions. Time to shine. You were a light worker, definitely. You stuck out. You made a big change in your world. Tell us more. Oh, forgot one. Insight, yeah. You were psychic. You could see things. Precognitive like pile 1. You would warn people. Like if somebody having a specific vision and thought of like somebody who's trying to conceive, and they would go to you and you could tell them exactly why they weren't conceiving or what they needed to do. Made people's wishes come true with fertility. Jupiter abundance. You were a manifester. So if you needed money, you manifested this great love into your life who could take care of you. Lunar eclipse. There's a lot of change in your life, a lot of turmoil, but you were a light worker and you helped people through that change. To settle back down, I feel like you did help with PTSD as much as they knew about it back in the day. A lot of people coming out of the Civil War were just very damaged physically, mentally, spiritually, and you helped put your community back together. Grand Cross Provoker. For this, I just feel like you got a lot of hate because you were from the north, and down south they didn't treat you very well at first either, and your family kind of kicked you to the curb for marrying a southerner, but I don't feel like that lasted forever. I do feel like you did write letters to your family. I don't feel like you ever went home again, and I do feel like the people down south eventually saw your character and saw you for who you were, and it wasn't a big deal, but you did have to go through some changes. Earth element, you're very stable. You had a very stable, strong personality. You were about giving stability to those coming out of the war, even your home life. Like, everybody had gone through years of chaos, and you just wanted people to feel calm. I really do feel like you were a big part of the healing process in your community. Yeah, you were a healer. Exactly. Physically healing people, and not only working on their bodies, but working on their mind. You're very rooted. You're family rooted. You didn't like to move around, although you were very busy. I feel like you did move around a lot in the war, and once the war was over, you just wanted to put down roots and settle and have your own life. You carried a lot of grief. You saw a lot of death as a healer, and you would take it very personally because you are a spiritual person in this time. You could been an empath, which means you could have felt the people's pain as they were dying. Carried a lot of grief about losing your family, about moving away from home. You were a widow, you know what I mean? So you had a lot of pain. Oh, you were a witch for sure. I do feel like you kept that on the DL because people were not happy about witches back in the day, but you practiced. You told fortunes, you made medicines and potions to help people. You're definitely an active witch. Everything is as you've created. Yeah, you were somebody who made the life that they wanted from their mind to reality. You could manifest anything. You had gifts. No longer holds power over you. This is people, the naysayers, like how could you marry a northerner after everything, or how could you marry a southerner? They didn't allow other people's actions and feelings to influence their life, but this is also helping people get over the war as well. The way is clear. You helped people not only physically when they came home with injuries, how to learn how to live with one leg or one arm, but also how to cope with what they saw and dealt with in their mental mind. Sacred mirrors. You were a good counselor. Like, I feel like you were an early psychiatrist. You could reflect back. Like, this is like people would come to you with a problem and they weren't seeing it clearly, so you would reflect it back in their own mirror image, and then they'd be like, oh, you know, I was being a brat because of this. You know what I mean? I just feel like you were a great counselor. Your past supports your future. So you feel like when you lost your first spouse and you married another person, you felt like that was meant to be, that first spouse brought this into your life. And everything you went through, being a doctor and fighting for the north and moving to the south, as much as you got hate in the beginning, you knew it was going to be okay in the end. You knew that spirit supported you. Cozy up with the risk. You were comfortable even with people who were not comfortable with you. Like when you moved to the south, you clearly stuck out because you had a northern accent. You know what I mean? So it was risky. Back then, people, even after the war, they were still killing people from each side because they were angry. And they fought for years. And you took the risk and moving to a very hostile area where they weren't going to treat you well, and you stayed strong to your character. The distraction of shiny things. Although you were spiritually gifted, I feel like once you got money, maybe that narcissistic side came out. Like once you forgot what it was like to be poor. You did like battles. You did like overspending. You did have a vain side of you. But, you know, we all have flaws. Alright, let's close it out with some tarot here. Field of Dreams. You got a lot of visions in your sleep about what was going to come, how to make people better. You were a guide. You guided people back to health, again, mentally and physically. Talisman, you believed in objects. You were a practicing witch, so you made objects to protect people or objects to make people have babies or get better. You made talisman and sold them or gave them. Moonlight, again, referencing moon. I feel like you... I'm seeing a lady dancing under the moon naked, which they did a lot in the early witch years. They felt like the moon gave them power, and you were definitely somebody who did that. Deep freeze. You turned cold for a little bit. It has to do with your family cutting you off and being stuck in like a vain narcissistic way for a time. Like I said, I don't feel like that stuck with you for long. But you froze your heart because of all your grief, but ultimately helped other people because you knew from your own experience, from your own traumas, like this person is just being cold and distant because they're hurting inside. Because you went through that yourself, you later helped other people. Gentle gardener. Yeah, you helped people like that come to you with a problem, mentally, physically. You helped them get their life back through spirit. It's like you asked Spirit how to help them, and Spirit told you what to do. Flying. To me, this is like you went very far in your life, farther than you even imagined, especially moving with a different coast, to a different coast. Like you really felt doom for a little bit, like maybe that the spirits would be angry at you or your family would never forgive you. But you soared. You soared in life. You were successful. Yeah, look at you. You were definitely a shaman, doctor, witch. Heal the ouch. More mentally, I feel like you could do surgeries as well from your experience in war, but this is talking more about healing the ouch inside. You were, like I said, an early psychologist, so I hope you enjoyed this and learned something about your past life. If you like these readings, if it resonated, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe so you have access to all my new stuff. Talk to me in the comments. I love and appreciate you all. I'll see you next time, okay? And there, pile number 3, you picked the orange surfboard gnome. Super cute. Do they all have bellies out? This one has the belly out. Anyway, I'm going to do something live for you. I'm going to draw 6 of these from each deck, which I have 2. It's going to give me some details about your life, what happened. That's funny. A lot of war times. One more. No, let's go. Okay. Oh wait. Other deck. Told me to put one back. They correct me when they need to. Moving all over the place with this one. Put these in order. Sorry. Alright, let's spread these out. These give me the most details about your life. Okay, ooh, so you had a karmic relationship. Do you feel like you had a bad marriage, but also a good marriage? We'll see. So it's like you married the wrong one, Or you even could have been widowed here. Monk or nun. I don't feel like you were a monk or a nun. I just feel like you were raised by nuns because you were an orphan. You were raised by the church because you didn't have any family. Which did pop up as a card, but they didn't. They told me to put it back. You had a lot of trust and faith because of the way you were raised. You had a strong spiritual base. Authority figures. You did get into some trouble. Maybe we'll get some more. Ooh, also, I don't feel like this is a part of this life, but you had many lives. If you are from Atlantis, I do feel like you are a starseed as well. Got a connection to trees here. I feel like you were buried under a tree when you died. You could have also had a strong ancestral history. Even though you were orphaned, you could have had an important family here. Let's get some more. What'd you do in your life? Oh, okay. Well, let me take that back. Maybe you didn't get in trouble and that's why you went that way with it. You worked in the justice field, getting justice for others, so you could have been a judge later on in life for sure. But we have speaker and a spiritual teacher. So, you were a public speaker, for sure. About injustices, trying to get people justice for what happened. You were attached to animals. I do feel like you had a dog. You were into yoga and meditating and healing your mind because I feel like you were a part of war here. You had a lot of stress and anxiety. You let go of a lover who was very toxic with this karmic relationship. So you had to walk away from a lover, and this is important in your life. Oh, shit. I forgot to write pile number 3, your time. What are we at? I don't know how long ago. We're going to say 47 and just hope that's right. Alright, so let's talk about your details. You were slim, medium weight. So it's not like you were skin and bones, but you were on the slimmer side. You lived during World War II. Oh shit, look at that picture. It matches the time period. That's so cool. So that's the war you were in. You had war trauma. Oh wait. We have tall. So you were taller, taller person, but you were medium weight. Not like a big muscular or... I do feel like you're a man. I'm just going to say it. You married more than once. Okay, so they are referring that you did leave another... You let go of a lover. A toxic one. A bad one. You were well known and adored by people of your time. Oh. That's what the tree is. It wasn't your family that was like strong ancestral ties. You began them. Like you put your family on the map because you were an orphan. You had a unique voice. You died in your middle age, so you didn't have a very long life, but you were the good one. You were a good soul. People thought you were a good person. You just had that energy. Like, you're just a good guy, is what I'm hearing. You broke destructive patterns of world leaders. Well, I would think so. I do feel like you were a part of breaking down concentration camps and helping the Jewish people and ending the Nazi regime. You were definitely a part of that. You had short hair. You were very career focused. And you were a very organized person. So I do feel like I'm just going to say I feel like you were killed by, even after the world ended. I'm getting a sense of like the Russians, what is their thing called? Their secret society, spies. They still spy on us, the KGB or something like that. I feel like they took you out. That's why you died so young. Alright, let's talk about your personality here. Nightingale, you spoke out about the dark things that were happening and that change needed to be made. You had a very big purpose. You were very famous, well known. I would Google who died in World War II and was a speaker, possibly died by the KGB. Raccoon, you did things, maybe you were a spy yourself. You could have been an actor who posed as posted themselves up in the richer society, but you really were a spy. I just feel like you did things in sneaky ways, whether that was getting information. Powerhouse, this phoenix, very strong. Swan, you had a twin flame, but this is also very elegant. Could have even been royalty even. I don't know. But very elegant, very well-dressed, well-mannered. But swans to me is talking about a twin flame. You did leave a karmic situation, let go of a marriage, I feel like, for your twin flame. Okay. The festival. You liked parties. You threw a lot of parties. You had money. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Maybe you invited the KGB to your parties to help the Americans or English, whoever was on all together against the Germans. You were breaking down the bad guys. I do feel like having parties were a part of it. You were a symbol of power, so I do feel like you were royalty in some sense. Goddess, healing feminine energy. Maybe you were a female. Maybe you were a spy in World War II. I just assumed that you were a boy because you were in World War II, but you could have been a female spy here. We'll get some more, maybe to lead us to a specific gender. Or you were just in your feminine energy, very attuned to your feelings. Yod, you had an important destiny. Although you didn't have a very long life, you had a good life and you created a much needed change. I do feel like not only did you work with concentration camps, but you worked with soldiers who were captured by the Japanese during World War II, and also the Japanese that were here in camps. Love was very important. You did have a twin flame. You had true love. And it's important to your story. 7th house, partners. Yes, you changed partners. You literally walked out of a marriage to marry someone else. But it's because one was very narcissistic, vain, toxic person. You were somebody who was about change and fighting for the little guy and doing the right things, and you were married to someone, whether you're a guy or girl, that wasn't about that. Didn't want to do that. Took you away from your purpose. So I feel like you met someone through your work who you fell in love with. And you're like, this person is about what I'm about and wants to make positive change, and I feel like maybe you work together as well. Saturn, you told the truth. You spoke truth. This is what's happening to people in the world. This is what we need to stop. Like, you stood up and said enough is enough. I'm going to tell the truth when most people were just trying to sugarcoat it. Greet the darkness. You walked in darkness, my friend, out there to bring light on the situation. With this sorry, my stomach's growling again because I can only eat at certain times. Ugh. All I want is a cheeseburger. This diet is horrible. I'm only in week 1 and I'm hungry all the time. Why? Anyway, greet the darkness. With those parties, I do feel like you invited bad people to get information or to expose them. Something. Elders, you had an old soul. Very wise. Nature spirits. Could have been an earth sign, very connected to earth here. Again with another tree. Daisy baby, I was at your belly. Daisy's belly's growling too. She's like right on my feet. Mine growled the first and then she growled. Who knows? She makes funny noises down there. Nature spirits. Again with the tree. I just feel like you died outside. I don't know how else to. Elements. Ooh, you could have been practicing with yourself or your spouse was. Let love be your guide. Yes. You followed your heart and leaving. Okay, so your lover was like your muse. I feel like you accomplished more in your life because you followed your love. Walk your own journey. You had to literally walk, like completely change your whole life when you walked away from one lover, and you could have lost money, you could have walked away from everything you knew. You didn't let anyone influence your love situation, but this is also walk your own way about change, about spreading the truth, helping people, embrace the dark. Yeah, again referencing you talked about all the dark things that were happening. Just look at my chair. The sacred flow of yes. Say yes to change. Say yes, I will help these people. Going with the flow. Or somebody said, yes, I will stand up and speak about these people and what's going on. You are epic. Yeah, you did some crazy awesome things. I really feel like you're well known. Somebody I could Google. I'm gonna Google after this. Pile number 3. Who are you? Nourish the sacred feminine. So again, another feminine. I don't know if a sacred feminine came into your life and was like your twin half and your twin flame half, and you went on your life purpose, and your twin flame was the feminine that nourished you, or if you are, I'm getting both, or you nourished the world, brought the love back in the situation. Like, we need to help make this right. Like all these displaced Jewish people that came from the camps, they had no family, no jobs, nowhere to go, helped with that. All these people coming home from being captured from war, whether both in Germany, Germany crickets, Germany and Japan, you know, bringing them home. Even when the war ended, there was still troops stuck in these camps, and they had to go find them. You were that kind of person. Like, we need to bring these people home. We need to do what we need to do, and you helped them when they came home as well. Helped people embrace that. We can't rule with hate. We gotta rule with love, and we gotta help people, even Germany, and help rebuild Europe after all the bombing and everything that happened. Yeah, live in the now. Now is about peace. Now is about change. We can't, the war's never gonna end if we don't change our mentality. That was your basic MO. Like, we can't continue to hate each other. We can't continue to hate Germany just because of one bad guy. We can't hate Japan. I know we've been fighting for like 6 years, but we gotta let it go. You are a mover of change. I still feel like the KGB took you out. I'm not gonna lie. Bone collector. Wow. Closing up on some tarot. You could have brought bodies home as well. No body left behind. Nobody left behind. You could have not only brought people from prisoner camps, like when they went into Auschwitz and realized so many people were burned or just laying there dead. Like, you made sure these people were laid to rest, or at least spoke up about the fact like we need to do some kind of honor or memorial for these people who died in all other countries and not their home, bringing people home, even the baddies, into the unknown. You didn't know how you were going to make change. You were walking in a very trying time, in a very dangerous time because the war ended, but there is still so much anger and pain and hatred throughout Europe, throughout the United States. They weren't willing to work together at first. They were still plotting, expecting another war to happen. Other leaders to step up who were like Stalin and Hitler that might threaten, they didn't have optimistic hopes, and you were walking in some challenging, unknown times. You didn't know who your friend was and who your enemy was. It was very dangerous. Ghostlands. This to me is like you went to places people forgot about or didn't want to even acknowledge. Like you would walk in Auschwitz and be like, massive people died here. What are we going to do about this? This can never happen again. Like where there was no love, no light. You went in there and you brought light. People at their rock bottom. The world was at their rock bottom after the war. Everybody was broke. We had the Great Depression. There was no food, no jobs. Most of Europe was destroyed. People were still stuck in camps spread across countries. The country was at rock bottom when you stood up. Magic Stream. Like, to me, you had a great purpose. A great voice in this change. Yeah, you rode the wave with your twin flame. You weren't going to be afraid of that tsunami wave. You were going to dive into it and be like, we can't go on this way. We need to calm the waters. That's what you did. You rode the wave of the war until the sea was calm for as long as your life lasted. Slow and steady. You knew change wasn't going to happen overnight. You knew that people weren't always going to listen to you because they've been fighting. They had to kill. They lost massive people. They lost their property. They were prisoners of war. People were broken. The countries all over the world were broken. Like everybody was falling apart, and to fix it was going to be a very small step, one baby step at a time. You understood that. You took your time. Home. You got people home. I really feel like you mostly dealt with prisoners of war, getting them out of camps and getting them home, whether it was the Jewish people, whether it was, German troops or American troops stuck in Europe. You got people home. The war ended. We need to get our people back. We need to lay them to rest. We need to allow the world to heal. You are very much a part of the letting go of the anger, the resentments, and let's work together now. Let's rebuild Europe. Let's rebuild the country. Let's get jobs going. You just wanted to put it all behind you because you yourself had seen so much destruction. Although it was only like 5, sometimes 8 years, depending on what country you look at. Less than a decade, but it felt like a lifetime, and everything in everybody's life changed and was affected by World War II. It was a massive clusterfuck, and you were the beginning of the puzzles coming back together. And I feel like, I'm gonna say it, I really feel like you were killed by a KGB spy because Russia wanted war. Russia to this day still wants war. You know what I mean? So you were somebody who was peaceful and making changes they didn't like. So I'm just going to keep that theory. That's in my gut and my heart. That's what my guides are telling me. You got killed by a KGB Russian spy because you were doing great things. And I feel like you were about to shed some light on some spies that were working with the American people in specific, that were inside the government but were really working for the KGB. They don't fuck around. Hopefully I don't get whacked for telling this. Anyway, I love you all. If you like this, if it resonated, if you want more readings like this, please hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button so you have access to all my stuff. And I will see you next time. Talk to me in the comments. If anyone wants to Google this, let me know. I'm going to Google some stuff myself, but help me Google. Who is this person, pile number 3? Anyway, love and light. See you next time.